Greetings! We're here above the lower Deschutes River at the mouth of Macks Canyon. Taking in this beautiful vista. I've been spending a few weeks out here on the lower Deschutes River down near the mouth, and then as far as you can drive before you have to hike, bike, or boat. And it's been a kind of a rough experience. Not only has the forecast been completely wrong, but the other campers that I've been around have been a bit disrespectful, and that's tough to deal with. Including backpacking down on the lower section, people were causing some problems, and I left and came out here thinking that 17 and a half miles of washboard rocky gravel road would deter some people, but it has not. And so there's the yahoos out here being disrespectful and awful, but you get up here and you can get away from them. You know, like these people down here, they're just letting their off-leash dogs go ahead and do whatever they want, but they can't come up here, so ha ha ha. They're going to have to deal with this really bad section of trail. This is the start of the Rogue River Trail, the Deschutes River Trail. I keep saying Rogue. Deschutes River Trail. Those people there are crossing Macks Canyon, which is up that way. And there's a campground, one of the most popular campgrounds out here, really. Macks Canyon campground there. And that is the site of a former Native American village. They say it's occupied up to 5,000 years ago, and now it's a campground. And where this little black car is down here, you can kind of see, that's the start of the Deschutes River Trail, and there's no signage. There is zero signage telling you where the trail is. It's just kind of there, and you can sort of see something down here coming out of, that's actually a trail from campsite number 1. And so people are parking where you see the silver vehicle parked. They're parked in a campsite to hike the trail because there's zero signage. People don't know where they're supposed to be. So they're, unfortunately, day using a campsite against the rules, which I don't think they even realize it. Or if they do, they don't care, or their dogs are off leash, so maybe they don't care about anything. Everybody's dog has been off leash, and it's been a bit of a problem. That's part of the issue that I'm having out here, is there's just a lot of yahoos who don't really care about the rules. Besides the kind of harshness from my fellow campers, the weather itself is bad. Don't trust the forecast. The forecast here is always wrong. Always. It's supposed to be sunny today and light and variable wind. Instead, it's just blasting wind up here, and there's clouds moving in. The weather out here can be quite variable, but expect either windy conditions or windy conditions. It's either going to be really hot or really cold, but it's always going to be windy. And this section of trail is the unmaintained section, and it is very badly rocky. It's just a nightmare of rocks. I tried to run a 5K out here, turned around somewhere up there and came back, but this section right here underneath all this, rocky side, it's just nothing but a pile of rocks. It's really, really difficult to deal with. I ran it, but it was harsh. It was one of the more technical 5Ks I've had to do, and where the old trestles are, you have to drop down and come back up. Like here, it's very, very steep at Macks Canyon, and there's 2 more here that I had to deal with on my 5K I was able to run up them, but because they're not very long, but these ones here are really steep. And you'll notice that I mentioned, or you may remember I just mentioned, that there was a Native American village site, and that's why Macks Canyon is kind of interesting, because it has a secret, and you should look it up online. Don't try and find it. Way up there, probably a good 1.5 miles, and if you know where it is a set of petroglyphs, and it's really neat to see them, but you can find pictures online so you can see what they look like, and you won't have to risk your life going up there. I decided one time to go up there and risk my neck, and I found them, but it's just not safe. You don't know exactly where they are. You're kind of just guessing. And when you do get there, you aren't going to really see what you think you're going to see. You can't just like walk right up to them and go, oh, cool. They're kind of on a little narrow cliff that's 20 feet over a huge blackberry patch. So if you slip off the cliff, you will have a very bad day. And I was kind of nervous doing that, and I really shouldn't have. I was alone. Nobody knew where I was, and it's kind of like, don't risk your neck going out there like I did. It's too far. It's too harsh. There's no cell service anywhere out here. You're completely on your own, so don't do that. But look it up. It's kind of cool. There's the Macks Canyon petroglyphs up there, and so there's a little bit of a secret up there you can find. But it's a very popular and well-used area. It's an active rail line. People are boating the river all the time. There's hikers and bikers coming up and down the trail, which surprises me. This section is so hard on a bike. I can't even imagine. You'd have to push your bike up so many of these former trestle sites. And a lot of the old railroad ties are still there, so you got to kind of deal with going over those, and it's kind of a rough section. I have no idea what you encounter on the way up there, but it's pretty gnarly. Kind of a rough trail. Trail running it was technical. Definitely technical. I had to really stay focused. But if you're going to come out here, be ready to go down 17 and a half miles of washboard, bad gravel road. Be ready for no cell service, no water. It is a dry campground. There is only two vault toilets and a boat launch. And there's people coming and going all day long, and the campground has weekend rates that are higher, so you have to pay more on the weekend during the peak season and so on and so forth. It's a challenging place to deal with. It's always very, very windy. In the summer, it's burning hot and there's no shade. And outside of the summer months, it's frigid out here. Absolutely frigid. And again, there's no wind protection. So what do? You just freeze and you're unpleasant, and it just is, oh man, it's a harsh environment. See, this flat here used to be a homestead, and a lot of these flats used to be homesteads. In fact, there's a campsite, a boater campsite down the river called Homestead Camp, because every one of these little flat bends had a homestead on it, because it's a great place to, build a house, run some cattle up on these hillsides, and that's kind of what they mostly did. But I mean, if it was such a great place to live, there'd still be people out here, and this old rail bed would be a road now. But these two rail lines were the subject of railroad wars back in the day. Look it up. Look up the Oregon Trunk Line, and you'll hear about some history on the Deschutes River and some of the kind of crazy stuff that went down. It was definitely railroad wars. There were dynamite bombings and murders, and it was quite the thing. But there's all kinds of history to get up into. There's tons of cool geology of the basalt here that goes back millions of years. You're looking millions of years back into history, from 7 million years all the way back to like 14 million years at the lower levels below us that we can't even see yet. But the river has sort of ground its way through here, through all these layers and layers and layers, and it's just like, wow. And of course, this time of year is the only green time of year, so you'll see the balsam root and the lupins and the lomatium and all the wildflowers coming out, and the hillsides are all green. But come June, it'll just turn brown, and it'll be like that until probably spring breaks the next year in March. So it can be a really harsh environment for a lot of reasons. Be ready for train horn and train traffic at 2 a.m., and lots of vehicle traffic coming and going, most of which are flying down the gravel road at extremely high rates of speed. It's harsh on your vehicle. I had a couple guys yesterday with a cut brake line trying to see if I had any brake fluid. I helped them out, but that thing was just pouring brake fluid all over the ground, and they were really nervous because they had, again, 17 miles of gravel to have to deal with before they could even get to pavement, and there's still not cell service at the pavement. You have to drive up out of the river canyon near Shearer's Bridge up towards, I guess, Ty Valley, or maybe the other direction towards Grass Valley, to be able to get some cell service up out of the canyon. I have no idea how high up you'd have to go to get it, but just so you know, if you come out here, it's going to be difficult in a lot of ways, and you need to be prepared for everything from bad weather to running out of supplies to dealing with, disruptive campers. And pretty much everybody's dog is off leash and running loose through the campground, causing problems, so be ready for that. Don't leave your stuff out that dogs could get into. But it's an interesting place. I've never spent this much time out here. Like I said, the only time I ever came out here was once to come out and try and locate Macks Canyon petroglyphs, and so I did. But it's definitely been an interesting time. I spent a lot of time down near the mouth of the river too, and it's pretty much the same thing. Very, very popular. Lots of people coming and going. You got to deal with bad weather, extremely poor forecasts, and just a harsh environment in general. But it's still very, very beautiful. It's very, very impressive getting up here and taking in these incredible canyons. It's just like, wow, this is some rugged country, and I love that. But, oh yeah, we are not wild. There's planes like that'll actually come down into the river canyon and buzz your camp, 100 feet off the river. It's like crazy. I was on the John Day River, and a vintage World War II fighter jet literally buzzed the deck down in the river canyon doing like combat maneuvers. I'm going, what? It was so disruptive. I couldn't believe if that guy crashed, there would have been a major incident. It would have started a wildfire. Pretty risky, but that's the kind of thing you have out here. It's just pretty much everybody's doing whatever the hell they please, and I don't really care about anything else other than doing what they want. And that's kind of a tough nut to swallow. But welcome to the outdoors, where people think nobody's looking. They're going to do whatever they please, including out here. And normally I expect that behavior from the ants who have no sense of boundary. But so far, I've been pretty lucky in terms of dealing with ants in the campground. They haven't been bothering my stuff, but they are there. And obviously, all the way up here on this promontory, as you saw earlier, there are, as always, ants. And there are also, as always, beautiful vistas to be had. And if you can stay out of the way of disruptive people or any of the problems that can happen out here from the weather or anything, you'll probably have a really lovely time. I see, yeah, he's down in the river canyon. He just went right down into the river canyon. Wow. It's so risky. It's so risky. I can't believe people do that. And plus, when you're trying to be out here and have a nice quiet time on the river and suddenly a plane is buzzing you 100 feet over your campsite, you know, kind of feels like you're being harassed almost. Like, you do realize I'm camping here. Nope, don't care. We don't care. We're going to do whatever we want. Yep, planes, trains, boaters, dog owners. It's a bit of a free-for-all. So, I would say be very, very wary of what you're going to find out here. Be ready for things to not be as good as you think. But you never know. You might have a lot better time than I did. I didn't have a bad time. It just wasn't as good as I hoped. I probably shouldn't have had my hopes up because campgrounds just are, these developed areas and campgrounds are just, they're zoo-like anymore. Nobody is being respectful or obeying the rules or having common courtesy. So yeah, I know. I should probably just suck it up and shut up and stop whining. But, you know, I'm kind of used to the only problem being the darn ants crawling on me, not people creeping up on me and bothering me and hanging out and staring at my campsite like I've been having happen pretty much everywhere. Down when I was backpacking, people would stop and stare at my campsite. Here, other campers are just hanging out and staring at my campsite. They're stopping right in front of my campsite and staring into it, just sitting there staring. I'm kind of going, hey, well, I'm going to have to get the heck out of here and go get down and get some lunch and get stared at. But thanks for joining me up here on this beautiful promontory overlooking Macks Canyon, above the Deschutes River and the very start of the Deschutes River Trail. This beautiful May day to enjoy this incredible vista. Actually decent weather for the area considering. And as you saw earlier, as always, ants.